A few years ago, I realized something uncomfortable. On the outside, my life looked successful. I had led teams, I had managed high pressure projects, I had checked all the boxes people associate with leadership and achievement. But inside, my body was telling a different story. I was exhausted. I was constantly tense. And I noticed that even small challenges were triggering big emotional reactions. Now, nothing dramatic had happened. There was no crisis, there was no breakdown. I didn't go through a burnout or anything like that. Just a quiet, persistent signal that something wasn't sustainable anymore. That moment changed how I understand pressure, performance, and what it really takes to show up fully in your life. And today, I want to share what I learned. My name is Claire Hayek. For more than 2 decades, I worked in high pressure environments where decisions mattered and mistakes had real consequences. I spent years leading teams, managing complexity, and navigating constant expectations. Well, for a long time, I thought pressure was simple, just the price that, to pay when you're doing something meaningful, right? Now, I was trained to push through, like many of us, to stay strong, hold the fort, keep going even when the cost was high. And for a long time, that approach worked until it didn't. Well, what I didn't understand back then is that pressure doesn't just live in the calendar, in your agenda, or your workload. Pressure lives in the brain. When your brain is under constant stress, it shifts into survival mode. It wants to protect you. It becomes focused on survival rather than being clear and focused. It focuses on efficiency rather than creativity, short-term certainty rather than long-term vision. Neuroscience shows us that under stress, prolonged stress, the brain relies more heavily on reactive circuits. The part of the brain responsible for reflection, empathy, and strategic thinking literally becomes harder to access. It goes offline for a short period of time. You don't become less intelligent, you lose just access to it. And that pretty much explains something many capable people experience. Why smart leaders sometimes say things they later regret. Maybe you can relate with that. Why experienced professionals feel stuck or disconnected. Why people who care deeply about their work feel overwhelmed by decisions that once felt really easy to take. It doesn't mean that you failed. It's just biology. For years, I believed the solution was discipline. I'm the most disciplined person out there. One of the most disciplined people out there. I believed for a long time, work harder, stay positive, push through discomfort, push through uncertainty. But the fact of the matter is, research tells a different story. The brain doesn't change through intention alone, just because you decided to be efficient and push through. It changes through repetition and emotional safety and clarity. When people say, for instance, I know what to do, but I can't seem to do it, it's not because you're lazy. It's just the brain stuck in a loop. Actually, studies in neuroscience show that habits, emotional reactions, and stress responses are largely pretty much on autopilot. They're automated. They're designed to conserve energy and keep us safe. So when we rely on just willpower, we're working against how the brain naturally operates. You see how that works? Now, lasting change happens when you work with the brain's design. Let's go back to my story. So my turning point wasn't dramatic. It was just very subtle, actually. I started paying attention to my reactions instead of judging them. I noticed when my shoulders were tight, when my breath became shallow, when I was breathing, when my mind raced ahead to the worst case scenarios. And instead of pushing through and just keep pushing, I dared to pause. That pause changed everything. Research actually shows that even short moments of awareness can interrupt stress patterns in the brain. A few seconds of intentional breathing can activate the nervous system, calming response. Just simple 4 inhale, pause for a couple of seconds, and exhale on 6. It's literally physiology. You're working with your nervous system. So I began practicing simple, repeatable techniques that just help my brain reset in real time. Although I loved meditating, this wasn't hours of meditation. It wasn't a major lifestyle change. It was just small, practical moments throughout the day. And slowly, my capacity expanded. I responded instead of reacted. I listened more actively, more fully. I made better decisions and clearer decisions. I led with presence rather than pressure and rushing. One of the moments that actually stands out the most for me, I was in a meeting that should have been simple, nothing really high stakes, nothing too stressful, nothing really dramatic, but someone questioned a decision I had made. And I felt it immediately. My chest tightened, my jaw tightened, my mind started racing ahead, defending, justifying, preparing to push back. From the outside, I stayed calm. I didn't show any of that. But inside, let me tell you, my body was ready for, I was like a warrior, ready for impact. So what struck me later wasn't what I said in that meeting. It was how much energy it took just to hold myself together. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I think a lot of leaders can relate to this, or professionals. I remember walking out and thinking, why did that feel like a threat? That person questioning my decision. And that question stopped me, because the truth was, it wasn't the comment that mattered. It was the state my nervous system was already in before I walked into the room. I was running on empty. My brain was tired. My capacity was low. I was not self-aware. I was not in control. I was not focused. My brain was foggy. And in that state, even neutral moments can feel really heavy. So imagine when somebody questions you in front of everyone. That trigger, right? So that was the first time I really understood this. Write this down. Pressure doesn't always come from what's happening. It comes from what you're carrying into the moment. So once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. This is what matters and what's important to understand here. When you're under pressure, your brain prioritizes speed and certainty. It narrows focus and limits perspective. It's basically fight or flight. That response is helpful in emergencies. We're wired that way. Our ancestors wired that way for a reason. But modern pressure, it rarely comes from emergencies. We're not being chased by a puma or a bear. It comes from just constant demands, people asking a lot of us, unanswered emails, deadlines, expectations, uncertainty about the future, change. The brain treats all of it as potential danger, as if you're being attacked by a bear. Can you imagine that? So over time, that state becomes the default. The encouraging part in all this, there is a positive, is that the brain is neuroplastic. It changes with practice. We can rewire the brain. Research actually on neuroplasticity shows that consistent small interventions can fire and wire new stress responses, a different way to respond to stress. We're not removing the stress, the outside stress, that's always going to stay there, but it rewires it by increasing your capacity to handle it or bounce back much quicker. I want to share 3 simple tools grounded in neuroscience and easy to apply. One thing you could do when this happens, name the stage you're in. For example, when you feel overwhelmed, just name it. I call it the name it to tame it. So just name what you're feeling. I'm feeling tense, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling rushed, I feel overwhelmed, I'm feeling uncertain. Research shows that labeling emotions reduces activity in the brain's threat centers. It's like when you point your finger at it, you took power away from it. It helps bring the thinking part of the brain back online, which is your prefrontal cortex, your brain CEO. You don't need to analyze it, just name it, just acknowledge it, say, this is what it is. And that alone creates that space. The second tool I want to share with you is how to regulate before you respond. So, for instance, if you're responding to a difficult situation, make sure to regulate your body first. Slow your breathing, drop your shoulders, even lower your voice, or be mindful of your voice tone. Feel your feet on the ground, ground yourself, feel your basically your body being present, literally in that space, in that moment. This signals safety to the nervous system. When the body feels safe, the brain thinks more clearly. This is why calm people influence the emotional tone around them. They change the whole room. Another way to do it is to activate the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve that runs in the body from the brainstem all the way to the coccyx. And the way to do it is by humming. So you can just hum a simple note or hum your favorite song. It actually slows down the nervous system and it regulates the nervous system. You definitely want that. What's more fun to do than humming your favorite song? Easy. The third tool is to practice. And practice these not only when you're in a high pressure environment, practice it when nothing is really going on. So don't wait for those high pressure moments to build these skills I'm sharing with you. So practice during everyday tasks, as you're reading your emails, feel the ground, feel your feet, feel your toes, hum in a meeting. Sometimes you can do it in a meeting. For instance, you can go, but being conscious that you're humming and that you're slowing down your nervous system. You can also practicing while walking, while washing your hands. You can feel, for instance, the sensation, the temperature of the water on your hands, or just the texture of your desk. So you can also be doing this while waiting for a meeting to start, or even during a meeting. You can feel the texture on the table. These small reps train the brain to recover faster when pressure appears. You're literally building gray matter in your wise side of the brain, the creative side of the brain, that is more related to the right side of the brain. We call it mental fitness. And consistency here matters more than intensity. Pressure itself isn't the problem. I just want you to remember this. What pressure does, it reveals what's happening. When people feel burnt out, overwhelmed, or disengaged, what they're often experiencing is a mismatch between demands and internal resources. They're not aligned with their environment. So building the mental fitness expands those resources. It expands clarity, emotional agility, resilience. These are trainable skills, and that is a great news here. Research actually shows that individuals and organizations that invest in this work experience better decision-making, stronger collaboration, and improved performance under pressure. Now, at a human level, people feel more grounded, confident, and capable. Looking back, I don't regret the pressure I experienced. It was a gift because it taught me something essential. Strength grows when you listen to signals rather than ignore them, and learn from your environment what's happening. And always find the gift in things that are really triggering us. What is the situation is telling me? What is it trying to teach me? The most effective leaders, parents, creators, and professionals aren't the ones who avoid pressure. How do you avoid pressure? That's life. They're the ones who actually know how to work with it. If you take one thing from this today, and let it be this: your brain is not the enemy. When you understand how your brain works, you gain choice. And choice changes everything. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to train your mind, one moment at a time. I hope this was really helpful for you. Bye for now.